The judiciary, as one of the three branches of the United States government, plays a crucial role in upholding the rule of law and ensuring the fair and impartial interpretation of laws and the Constitution. At the heart of this system lies the concept of jurisdiction, which determines the legal authority and power of courts to hear and decide cases. Understanding jurisdiction is essential to comprehending how the federal court system operates and how cases are distributed among different courts. Jurisdiction is primarily determined by two main factors: subject matter and geographic boundaries. Subject matter jurisdiction relates to the specific legal areas or subjects that a court is empowered to adjudicate. Federal courts, for instance, primarily handle cases involving federal laws, treaties, or matters arising under the U.S. Constitution. In contrast, state courts typically handle cases involving state laws and matters that do not fall under federal jurisdiction. Personal jurisdiction, on the other hand, refers to a court's authority over the individuals involved in a case. This authority is typically established when the parties reside within the court's geographic boundaries or have sufficient connections to the jurisdiction, such as conducting business or owning property within the court's territorial limits. Lastly, territorial jurisdiction, also known as geographic jurisdiction, defines the specific geographic area within which a court can exercise its authority. Federal courts have jurisdiction over cases that arise within their designated judicial districts or circuits, each encompassing a defined geographic region. The federal court system is organized into three distinct levels: district courts, courts of appeal, and the Supreme Court of the United States. District courts serve as the general trial courts of the federal system, where cases are initially filed and evidence is presented. These courts are responsible for conducting trials, hearing testimony, and rendering verdicts or judgments. Appeals from district court decisions can be taken to the appropriate court of appeals, which reviews the lower court's decisions for legal errors or misapplications of the law. The courts of appeal do not typically consider new evidence or witness testimony, but rather evaluate the legal reasoning and procedures employed by the district court. At the apex of the federal court system is the Supreme Court of the United States, which serves as the highest judicial authority in the nation. The Supreme Court has discretionary jurisdiction, meaning it selects the cases it will hear based on their significant constitutional issues or conflicting interpretations of federal law among the lower courts. Within this hierarchical structure, there are cases that fall under the exclusive jurisdiction of federal courts. These are matters that arise under the U.S. Constitution, federal laws, or treaties, and state courts do not have the authority to adjudicate them. Examples of cases that fall under the exclusive jurisdiction of federal courts include bankruptcy cases. Federal courts have exclusive jurisdiction over bankruptcy proceedings, which are governed by federal bankruptcy laws. These cases involve individuals or businesses seeking relief from overwhelming debt through restructuring or liquidation of assets. Patent and copyright cases. Disputes related to patents and copyrights, which are governed by federal intellectual property laws, are handled exclusively by federal courts. These cases often involve complex issues of innovation, creativity, and the protection of intellectual property rights. Federal crimes, cases involving violations of federal criminal laws, such as federal drug offenses, fraud, or crimes committed on federal property, fall under the exclusive jurisdiction of federal courts. These cases are prosecuted by the United States Department of Justice and are subject to federal sentencing guidelines. In contrast to exclusive jurisdiction, concurrent jurisdiction refers to cases that can be heard in either federal or state courts. In these situations, jurisdiction is shared between the federal and state court systems, allowing parties to choose the appropriate form based on various factors. One example of concurrent jurisdiction is diversity jurisdiction, which occurs when the parties involved in a case are from different states, and the amount in controversy exceeds a certain threshold, currently $75,000. In such cases, the parties may choose to file their lawsuit in either the federal or state court system, depending on their preferences and strategic considerations. Another instance of concurrent jurisdiction arises when a case involves claims arising under both federal and state laws. For example, a lawsuit involving both a breach of contract, typically a state law matter, and a federal employment discrimination claim could be heard in either court system. When concurrent jurisdiction exists, several factors determine which court system will ultimately hear the case. These factors include subject matter of the case. If the case primarily involves federal laws or constitutional issues, the parties may choose to file in federal court, where judges are generally more experienced in interpreting and applying federal statutes and precedents. Conversely, if the case is predominantly centered on state laws, the state court system may be preferred. Preference of the parties. In some instances, one party may prefer to have the case heard in federal court, while the other party may prefer state court. This choice is often influenced by factors such as perceived fairness, potential jury pools, or strategic considerations related to the specific circumstances of the case. Removal to federal court. If a case is initially filed in state court but meets certain criteria, the defendant may have the option to remove the case to federal court, effectively transferring jurisdiction. This process is governed by strict procedural rules and requires the case to involve either a federal question, a substantive issue arising under federal law, or meet the diversity jurisdiction requirements. The distribution of cases between federal and state courts is crucial for ensuring the proper administration of justice and the effective functioning of the judicial system. The federal court system, with its clearly defined areas of exclusive and concurrent jurisdiction, plays a vital role in upholding the rule of law and protecting the rights and liberties enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. Understanding jurisdiction is not only essential for legal professionals, but also for citizens seeking to navigate the complexities of the judicial system. By comprehending the boundaries of jurisdiction and the distribution of cases among federal and state courts, individuals can better appreciate the intricate balance of power and the mechanisms in place to safeguard their rights and access to justice.